Welcome to the welcoming of WWP, which stands for Welcome Podcast. My name is El De Niro. I'm joined today by my co-host and other member of the Midnight Express, Miguel. Did I say your name?
Hello.
I don't think I did.
Yes, we are part of the New Age Express.
The New Age Express, yeah.
That's two tag teams into one.
That's right. That's how good we are. Two Hall of Fame tag teams. Got it right there. So today we are going to be talking about nothing to do with tag teams, except for one brief weird spell.
We won't talk about that much.
In honor of Bill Goldberg's induction into the Hall of Fame, we are going to have a look at his storied career from his debut in WCW to his final run in WWE. We're going to try and be as concise as possible, but we're going to try and sort of give a review of the atmosphere and the feel of the time, because his journey is a really interesting one, and I think just Goldberg as a marketable gimmick in wrestling holds a hell of a lot of weight, and it's really worth observing, even if you're one of those people who was sick of him by the time he came back for his most recent run. You didn't want him in the ring, you didn't want him going over other people and stuff like that. I think it's still taking a look at everything that he achieved from his early days. So in order to kind of guide us along the way, we're going to be taking a look at the collections on the WWE Network. If you go to collections, there is one there called Goldberg Who's Next, and we watched that.
Very creative.
It is. It's very good.
Good stuff.
Instead of reviewing it match by match, we're gonna just sort of review each general era or each noteworthy chapter of the career going by the vault. So if you guys want to follow along or check out the collection, it is definitely worth the watch. I think it's a good. They've assembled a very good playlist, and it's really cool on the network actually, because it goes from match to match. It doesn't put you on the pay-per-view at the very start and you have to skip the Goldberg match. It actually shows match to match, and it's very neatly done, I think, the way it's done. So the only annoying thing is that you finish one match, and then when the next video loads, it does the do 5 seconds.
Just gonna say that. Have it as one singular fucking playlist. And another thing, if you say didn't watch it all in one day, and you, watch something else, and you go on to continue watching, if you finish off a video from this playlist, it won't carry it on, it'll just play the next thing.
That is a very bugged feature that they have on there, yeah.
Yeah, it's that, and the fact, as far as I'm aware, you can't create your own playlists.
Yeah, that's really annoying, because if you could make your own collection and cut out matches like that, it would be unbelievable, and then you could share that playlist with other people, and for fuck's sake, Vince, hire us, this is a great idea.
Yeah, we're just giving you probably a quadrillion subscribers there.
Yeah.
Did you notice as well, they've started putting up WCW Saturday Night?
That's been on there for a while, has it not?
Nah, because they've only just started 93, or 93's only got 1 week on it last time I checked.
Oh right, that's weird. They have WCCW on there, and they have
their other weekly show back in the day, which was WCW Watch This, or whatever the fuck it was called.
They've now put WCW Thunder on there, which is pretty cool.
Legendary, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. The original SmackDown. Did you know that SmackDown copied its everything from Thunder, pretty much? The idea to have it on Thursday night, the idea to give it a blue logo. They just, they completely...
Funnily enough, they didn't make Raw go 3 hours.
Yeah.
Well, they did, but
yeah,
it was more of a your big ad revenue. Let's make this 3 hours.
So Goldberg
that's a different story for a different day.
Goldberg's being inducted by Paul Heyman, which I think surprised a lot of people. I was reading up on this, and it turns out that Bill Goldberg himself requested Paul Heyman, which is pretty interesting.
I don't know their connection though. Have they been friends for age? I know they would have obviously become friends either in the first time Lesnar feuded with him. We'll get to that, or the second time. But do you think it's just Goldberg going, who's going to put me over the best?
You know that I would never say that, because I love Goldberg, and that's the main reason why we're here. I should actually say that to the listeners. Goldberg is my all-time favorite wrestler, so if you're looking for someone to bury him, It's not going to be me. If you're looking for someone
What
to,
a mark.
Yeah. One wrestler I will always mark out for is Goldberg. He's my all-time favorite. Paul Heyman did an interview with Digital Spy quite recently where he said he knows Goldberg very well. He thinks he's like a really cool guy, was a very good wrestler, very nice man, all that stuff. And he said that Goldberg just requested him. So obviously they know each other well, and that's pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he says at the Hall of Fame. I don't know if it'll be like a longer speech or what. I'm not all that familiar with the Hall of Fame format. I usually am drunk on a Friday night when it's on and I watch it and don't remember any of it. But there are some other WCW guys going in there, namely Jeff Jarrett, which is an interesting choice too. I'm looking forward to his speech. But yeah,
TNA Invasion, have you noticed? They got Jarrett in the Hall of Fame, they got Angle, they got Sting, they got Booker, they got Joe, they got AJ, they got Rockstar Spud, EC3's coming. It's a weird, like, let's just team Matt Hardy, like Broken Matt was done in TNA. It's all coming up TNA. If TNA, and it goes to show that they could have done that with the people that they had there and then. But should we jump right into this then?
Yeah, so the playlist starts off, and this is the most natural start point. Goldberg's actual in-ring debut on TV. He had participated in, I think, 6 dark matches up to this point. And before that, he was seen working out in a gym with, or by Sting and Lex Luger, who were like, this guy, he has something. And then Sting and Lex Luger went to WCW, Bischoff or whoever, and then they saw Goldberg and were like, yeah, we'll hire that guy. So this guy had Goldberg had no in-ring experience or anything like that, bar 6 matches when he was put up against Hugh Morris, or Humorous as Tony Schiavone calls him. And this
many a time.
Yeah. I suppose it's worth covering this match just as one because it's very quick and it's his debut, so it is noteworthy. Hugh Morris very over with the crowd at the time. Did a hell of a moonsault despite being an oddly shaped man. You know what I mean?
No laughing matter.
Yeah, no laughing matter. Goldberg showed different degrees of his agility. Like he did a backflip, which just comes completely at you from out of nowhere.
I beg people to watch that. It's about like 2. It's like a 6-minute match, but it's like 2 minutes from the end. So they're in the corner, and then the Goldberg does like a backflip,
a blackjack.
Yeah, blackjack, and just lands. Is like whoa. It's something I noticed as well here. That, of course, retrospectively looking at it, you kind of go, okay, that makes sense. But Goldberg already had the look. Like, I'm not talking about his physical look. I'm talking like what he wore, how he came out and stuff. I don't know. You might have been already in the ring at this one, but like
he was, yeah.
You know, when you debut, you look pretty basic. I suppose it's like a Japanese thing. I think to come out in black trunks, black boots, and as you progress, you actually get more gear and get more. It's like a video game as well. Your character's weak, whereas he's just like, no, this is my look. Black everything, these sort of MMA type gloves, the shaved head, because I think previously he did have hair back when he was in American Footballini, and so which is Italian for American football.
That's right, yeah, American Footballini. Yeah, I've heard that many times.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be disrespectful if you are Italian and just be like, not everything is leany. I know. So his debut is worth noting that you can see the genesis of the move set. He's got the flip through leg lock. It's like an ankle lock or whatever that part of the body he locks.
His offensive moveset is not fully sort of tailored to fit him here, but that leg takedown thing that he does is really, really cool, and it's really impressive for such a big man to be able to do that, because like he's billed as 291 pounds. I don't know what his actual weight would have been at the time, but he's 6'4". Like the dude is a fucking like house.
He's a hoss, as JR would say.
He's a hoss, and he's there doing these like backflips and these leg takedowns and stuff that I don't think people give Goldberg enough credit for his moveset. Like he sort of gets put down as being a guy who only does 5 moves, and that's like really not true. So he hits the jackhammer here for the first time ever, and the crowd gives it like quite a good pop. It's clearly an impressive feat to be able to lift a big guy like Hugh Morris and hold him up there like that, the way that the jackhammer does before he slams him down again. And I guess just the agility to kind of cross body someone in midair while you're suplexing them is really, really cool. So he gets the 1, 2, 3, and then he looks at the camera and says, "That's number 1." And as he's walking up the ramp, Mean Gene comes up to him and says, "Well, Mr. Goldberg, that was very impressive. Tell me something about yourself." And Goldberg looks at him and says, and then walks away. And then Mean Gene is like, "Tell me something about this man. Tony Schiavone, you must know something. I need to know something about this man." And
why are you so obsessed with no? It's so you can go on that fucking... What's that thing he used to do? The hotline.
Yeah, the hotline,
so you can
yeah.
spout some shit about it then for like $4 a second.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was a pretty hot start. Obviously, people watching at the time could have gone like, "Holy shit, who's this guy?" But you know, most people who are going to get a push come in like this. But the difference was Goldberg, which wasn't a big guy. He's showing us that he's got agility and he's got a specific range of moves. You know what I mean? Like strength and speed and agility and yeah, kind of a combination and all kind of fused it with brute strength. Probably the weakest part of his so we're going to do it in a sec. You know, we're going to talk about his WCW run initially up to his loss at Starrcade 98. But probably the weakest match that we have here in this bunch is him versus Mongo.
Yeah, this is not fun to watch.
Yeah, I'd skip this. It's horrible. Mongo can't sell. He can't really do anything. Goldberg kills him. We move on.
Yeah, that is pretty much exactly right.
Yeah, and I know that you can be like, "Oh, that's every Goldberg match," but this
not.
Didn't have any what's the word, substance, and any didn't have anything to it. It was just very dry, and it's the type of match that you could be like, "Holy shit!" Like Goldberg needs help here still. You know, it's only this first full year as a professional. He needs help, so don't put him there with people who are either on the same level or, I would argue, far worse.
Yeah.
Such as Mongo was. We then go through to 1998, where he faces William Regal, which is it's an infamous match, of course, for the Is Regal shooting on him. We saw this both, and we didn't make anything of it other than the fact that Regal just wrestled that style anyways.
Yeah.
I think Goldberg just froze for a little bit.
This is a decent match. If you go into this match and watch it without any agenda or without any sort of inclination to look at one thing or the other, this is a fine match. There's really nothing wrong with it. Goldberg is, I suppose his weakness at this point is his... he's very good offensively. He's not so good at taking moves, and that's because he hasn't really had to do that up to this point. So he's going up against an actual a wrestler in William Regal. Like, you know, this guy's brought up a hard man, like has a very hard style of wrestling. This is when Regal's not really at his best. And there are rumors all across the internet that Goldberg and Regal hate each other. That doesn't really seem to be the case. Both men have been interviewed about this match several times, and they both have said, "No, it is what it is. You can watch it." Goldberg thinks Regal might have hit him a bit hard, and I would say, in Goldberg's defense, or from Goldberg's point of view, that probably is the hardest that he was ever hit, because he was up against a guy who comes from a style of wrestling that doesn't really exist anymore and was dying out by the late 90s. I think only Regal and Finlay and maybe a few others laying around sort of did that kind of thing in WCW.
Mostly European.
Yeah.
So we go through, and probably the one of the highlights of this compilation is his match against Raven.
Yeah.
Where I believe it's for the US title.
It is. Yeah.
Both guys were like, Raven primarily was just like, "I'm gonna make you look like $1 million fucking bucks," and Goldberg was like, "Thank you very much. I will do my best to make myself look like $1 million bucks as well." Raven pretty much bumps all over the place for him. You get the interference, so you start to see basically like a mini match within the match, because you just start taking out all the members of the flock. What I particularly enjoyed about this match is that I think it was only like 6 or 7 minutes, but they went hard, man.
Yeah.
They went non-stop. They made the most of that time. So, and you compare this to the earlier match with Mongo, and this is what I'm talking about when you get someone who understands the business, brackets, Raven, and someone who very much doesn't. And this is probably my favorite match of the bunch, I think, just because I'm a huge Raven mark, and it's nice to see also Raven in his prime, technically, as well. But yeah, so at this point, so he's now winning titles here on April 20th, as of April 20th, 98. So it's clear that the company has much stock in him. You start to hear the Goldberg chants, like, are they played out or not? I think definitely people would have been chanting nonetheless.
Yeah, I can say a lot about that maybe when we come to the end of this little part.
Yeah.
This match itself, this is Goldberg is 74-0 coming into this match, and the streak numbers are inflated and everything like that. This is pure gimmick, and it's working. Like, he is so fucking over in this match. The crowd goes crazy at every single thing that he does. He does a roundhouse kick. Raven does a drop kick. It's very high octane. This is Monday Nitro. I'd recommend everyone watch this, even if you've no interest in the collection or whatever. This is just a match that you should simply see to understand the spectacle of Nitro at the time. It's April 20th, 1998.
And side note as well, we see Goldberg here with a kick to the head, which goes to show that he was doing that move without killing people.
Yeah.
More on that later.
That will probably resurface. This is one of my favorite Goldberg matches of all time, and one of my favorite WCW matches. I think it just perfectly encapsulates the style of that company at the time, and just the high octane drama and the energy and everything about it. I really, really, really dig it. From everything from the production, the announcements as the guys come out to the ring, the commentary, it's just really, really good, and I'd recommend everyone check it out. So Goldberg jackhammers Raven on top of a stop sign to pick up the stop sign is off the pole and on the mat. I should specify that, otherwise you might be picturing something very different. But he wins the US title here, and that's significant. And then he carries that title all the way up to July 6th when he takes on Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
The crowning, I think.
Yeah,
of Bill Goldberg as a main eventer.
This is Nitro as well, and this happens in Atlanta, Georgia, where Goldberg is from. And up to this point, Goldberg has been billed as from parts unknown. He weighs unknown. Like, everything about him is supposed to be unknown. He's this complete unknown entity. He doesn't do interviews. He doesn't talk to people. It took them a while to figure out that Goldberg was not like just a cyborg that destroys and smashes things, and that he's actually a really, really fucking like hard man type character, sort of like a Stone Cold Steve Austin, but with none of the like immaturity and a little bit more sort of.
Is he more adult, or he's not adult? I guess because Stone Cold wasn't for kids either, but Goldberg was with Goldberg, I suppose, unlike Austin, was less is more. Whereas Austin, if you go back, especially this time period that the Goldberg run was happening, Austin was all over the show.
Yeah.
And it was like, I can't remember which cartoon it is, but it was like, if Austin's not on the screen, they're going to be talking about Austin. Where's Austin? Yeah. What's Austin in the arena? What's Austin up to? And Goldberg was just like, I'm here. I'm going to beat the shit out of whoever's in front of me. I'm going to say who's next, and I'm done. So Austin... I mean, listen, Stone Cold is the fucking GOAT, okay? So I'm not even being
without a doubt.
This is a distraction, but...
no, it's just the difference in styles is interesting as well.
Yeah, Goldberg had a sense of mystique that Stone Cold didn't have, but Stone Cold had a popularity that, eclipsed Goldberg's, even at Goldberg's, like, peak. Austin, like, sold more merch and all that. So, obviously, you're comparing, apples to
how many
cigarettes.
How many Universal Soldier movies has Austin been in?
He was condemned, though, mate.
Yeah, but that was like 16 years later.
He was in Nash Bridges in 98.
Oh, you've got me.
Oh, bluff. Yeah, and they were both in The Longest Yard, weren't they?
They certainly were, yeah.
So it all comes together in the end. But yeah, July 6, 1998. We see Hogan. This is Hogan at his, like, most NWOist. He is orange as fuck. He is he's got like a bandana style thing going on. Not bandanas. He's got he's trying to be black, essentially, is what it feels like.
He looks like you could peel that skin off him and it would come off with all that added grease that comes on a cooked chicken. He looks fucking disgusting. He looks like his skin, like if you touched it, you'd have to wash your hands because the grease would be running all over you.
Radioactive as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's still like the big, obviously, because I was saying he's the biggest heel, especially in this company at the time.
Yeah. And
during the match, we noticed that everyone's boy, hopefully, Mike Tenay, says that this is why it starts to being, and we're going to cover this later on when he starts to properly get into the feud with the NWO people, where they're like, WCW's the third brand behind the NWO and the Wolfpack. Yeah. At this point, the Wolfpack was about 2 weeks old. A couple of months old anyways, and they're already better than WCW. But, so what they're painting here is the picture of, like, this guy. Listen, Sting tried, and we all know what happened there. This guy is actually WCW's last hope. So it's kind of an underdog story for a guy who's never booked as an underdog.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, I think, as well. In this streak, you see it. His opponents vary in style and stature, and they all pose different but ultimately credible threats to Goldberg. And it's crazy that you don't notice it at the time. But I remember, like, I was alive for Goldberg's streak. I watched not the whole thing, but I fucking loved Goldberg. And I always used to think this is going to be the match that he loses. Like, Raven is definitely going to beat him because Raven has the flock and it's Raven's rules. But
Raven just beats him. Done.
But that's the way you actually, like, when you first get into wrestling, and it's fucking crazy. And this Goldberg versus Hogan, like, Hogan was a monster heel, not only because he won all
on
the time
screen.
Not only on screen. He won every match because he fucking wrote his own storylines. So it's like, This is just huge, and it's in Atlanta, and it's Monday Nitro, and it's a 3-hour show. And when Goldberg is coming to the ring, I swear to God, if you watch this and this entrance doesn't make you feel something, just get the fuck out of here, out of the planet.
Rewind and watch it again until you feel something.
Yeah. And no one's going home until they felt something.
Feel the Goldberg.
Yeah.
He also never seemed overwhelmed, which I think is a credible thing for the guy.
Yeah.
Like, he seemed like a big match wrestler. Big Match John, if you will.
Big Match Bill.
Big Match Bill sounds like the worst gimmick in the history of wrestling. But, so he obviously does the Hogan, does the JOB. The match isn't much to speak about. A little bit of stalling here, a little bit of stalling there, but the crowd, much like, say, your WrestleMania 3s, even though I think this is better, or and Hogan versus Warrior, which even though I think this is also better.
Your WrestleMania 18 in terms of the crowd.
Yes, compared to content of match.
Yes. Yeah.
If you watch this match in silence, I'm sure you'd still go pretty crazy for, like, when he does Jackhammer or the Spear Jackhammer, but generally speaking, wouldn't feel the electricity, as The Rock says. What I like as well is that
if you watched it on silent, you might actually see the electricity, which is such a ridiculous thing to say, but in terms of people jumping out of their seats and the signs waving around the place, like, it's such a vibrant spectacle to look at. It's crazy, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe it would transfer even then. But what I really enjoyed about the match as well is that Goldberg had already defended his US title against Scott Hall earlier that night, and Hogan only agreed to have the match because Goldberg agreed to put his career on the line. Now, of course, that kind of telegraphs the ending, but then again, it doesn't because it's WCW.
Yeah.
Goldberg could still lose.
Anything goes in that fucking company.
So that was the weird thing about it. It was like, it's so obvious that you think, maybe they'll do some bait and switch storyline in which he gets screwed by perhaps a taser, but they didn't do it here, which is good. So now we kind of move ahead. By the way, a great match. Just don't look at wrestling and think, oh yeah, it's not a great match because they're not doing certain things. Just take the whole thing as...
Take it into context.
Yeah, a little sphere of 98, a little sphere of its time, a little sphere into WCW, how how main events were generally geared at this time, and the fact that you got this on TV for free.
Yeah.
Which is huge as well. Obviously, you could argue that they lost probably millions upon millions on pay-per-view, but at the same time, like, this is an incredible moment.
Yeah.
And you're kind of saying everyone should see it, as opposed to only a selection of people who pay should see it. So you could, either or sort of thing. So now Goldberg is world champion.
And
so he's achieved that.
And he retires the US title. He said, well, he gives it away.
Relinquishes it.
Relinquishes it, yeah. He says there's no point in having this now because I'm the big dog.
Yeah, oh, the big dog. If he was in the WWE, JR would probably describe him like he did Bull Buchanan. He's tough. He's mean. He's a bull. So up next we go to October of 98 in another infamous match for different reasons. Just a side note that this match wasn't actually broadcast on the pay-per-view. This is Goldberg versus DDP for the World Heavyweight title, and the situation was that the pay-per-view ran overtime, and literally it went off the air. I'm pretty sure it's either they were coming out or it's just as the match is starting, which is crazy. So they actually played the next night on Nitro for free, and they got like massive ratings naturally, because Hogan and Warrior technically was the main event. So we get the match technically on Nitro for free. So up till then, if we just quickly recap what we went over, so you've got the debut, the shit match versus Mongo, you've got a sort of technical style match versus Regal, you got him going up against the hardcore guy, Raven with the group as well, you've got him going up against straight up like the baddest, biggest cunt heel in the world, Cunt Hogan. So now he's the defending champion, so he's now the one with a target on his back, and DDP says, I don't give a shit who you are, who you've beaten. I know if I hit the diamond cutter on you, you will feel the bang.
Yeah, this is a cool thing in this actual match. This is largely considered to be Goldberg's best match, for anyone wondering. So we'll talk a little bit about the actual presentation of WCW, I think, when we're done with this little angle. But in this match, as DDP is coming out to the ring, the announcer Michael Buffett says he is the fucking something for, he can hit that thing out of nowhere, because for anyone who doesn't know, the RKO from out of nowhere started with DDP in the 90s. And that was the whole idea in this match, was Goldberg's threat was that DDP can come at you from like literally out of nowhere. He can create something out of nothing. And that's sort of what you're looking at. And this match is really, really good. It's one of the longer matches on the thing. This, again, you'll find if you Google it, DDP shoots on Goldberg. He doesn't actually say anything bad, and we were talking about this before, but the things that DDP says doesn't really make sense here. He says that Goldberg didn't want to miss the spear, which he did about 3 weeks before in a match against Sting on Nitro, and DDP said that Goldberg kicked out at 1 after the Diamond Cutter, which that didn't happen either. So I don't know what's like.
They protected the shit out of that move because he did the cutter. Yeah. They fell on opposite sides of the ring.
Yeah, and DDP references that. In fairness, he does say that in the thing. He says, "I gave him that time," and Austin. He says this on Austin's podcast. And Austin's like, yeah, you got to give them the time, otherwise they're gonna. To me, it was like Goldberg kicked out at like 2 1/4, maybe 2 1/2, but he definitely doesn't kick out at 1. So
definitely after 1, yeah. The hand hit the mat once,
yeah, possibly
twice, and then almost the third time. You know how pins work.
Yes.
So maybe a third. So yes, the whole match is built up around DDP trying to get the move in, and obviously Goldberg gets out of it in different ways, reverses in different ways, and obviously then he hits it, but he doesn't lose. Then of course Goldberg goes through his finishing sequence, but what should be noted about this match is that unlike the previous matches where it's just a set of moves, DDP and he's famous for pre-booking his matches in a hell of a lot in advance, he kind of brought in psychology. So add that to the things that we've seen Goldberg do. from the brawler to the technical wrestler to the 80s sort of old school heel. Now he's got like a brash, because DDP is also a babyface here, which is interesting as well, face versus face.
WCW did that very well. They navigated that space between face and heel really, really well and made it look legitimate without it being a whole like, oh, he's got to be heel and he's got to, like, they kind of did a lot of, we don't give a fuck, this is going to be good because it's good.
Yeah, it is what it is. So here we have him defending his world title, and I would argue here this is the absolute peak of his WCW run, which is odd because he was around until 2000. It's not to say that like everything else was awful, but I think that from the next moment it's going to start to be diluted, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's going to be diluted by bad storyline writing.
Yeah, rather than himself
and
the
injuries
character,
and stuff like that too. Like I mean that's ultimately WCW's downfall, isn't it? So
it's a good thing, and then they kind of go, oh, what the fuck do we do? Oh, get rid of it. I mean, put it this way: WrestleMania is very, 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 very soon, and if you see Asuka lose because Ric Flair came out and electrocuted Asuka, and fucking Charlotte wins, the game changes. But yeah, this is where we're gonna go to next. It's I'm just imagining Ric Flair with the fucking taser. Whoobs, whoobs.
I remember Ric Flair kissed Becky Lynch. Do you remember that? Yeah,
vaguely, yeah.
She was against Charlotte, and Charlotte was winning by being a big heel all the time. And then one of the things he did to distract Becky was kiss her, which, like, I don't know Ric Flair personally, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that was 100% his idea. It was fucking horrible. It's not even on the network anymore. They've cut that bit out.
Oh god, that's so cringy.
Yeah, but yeah, so I'm imagining Ric Flair to electrocute Asuka would contrive a situation where he's
WrestleMania.
So I just
So up next, that's where the momentum takes us next. Oddly, no Ric Flair in this WCW compilation. I've just realized that.
And it's a better product because of that.
Yeah, it's a blessing. So up next, we're going up to the shocking end. That's what they called it. That's what I'm calling it too.
So it's
December 27th, 98.
Starrcade. Kevin Nash is the opponent. It's 174-0 in the streak.
Just don't ask the commentators because
they don't have a
70 to 75. He's 172 and 0.
It's hilarious to me that like all they would have to do is literally look at any sign in the crowd. Every single person in the crowd is holding up a sign with that streak number on it. It's
all the same lie. It's the same lie. We can all agree it's a lie.
Yeah.
But like each one of them. And it's odd because it's like a 3-man booth, but each one of them will drop their own stats, and they're all wrong. And the real number's wrong as well.
Can you imagine if like
Very
TV
strange.
show scripts worked like that, and it was like The Walking Dead, and like one character says they're running away from vampires, one says it's from werewolves, and the other says it's from zombies, and they're all like, oh fuck it doesn't matter, it's a fake TV show anyway. The audience isn't here for the accuracy of the monster.
Yeah, Rick's like, Negan is coming to get me, and then Daryl's like, no, he's not, I just saw him go down the road. And Michonne's like, yes, he is, actually, but he's coming by plane. And Carol perhaps says he's coming by yacht.
Yeah.
But they're all acting as if like, yeah, this is all correct. Because that's what it felt weird about the commentators in WCW, was that like everyone was kind of like in agreement with themselves.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh man, if he wins this, he might be 171-0. That's right, Tenay. And if he wins tonight, he will be 173-0. But there was no like, nah, you're wrong. It was just like, I agree with you, but let me say my own version of that. Weird. But funny. I guess they weren't. So in WWE, as I understand it, in WWE you get told what the key points are of a storyline. what just look at Michael Cole, what the selling points are, what the finish is. You might not know every single bit of the match along the way, but you know the story they're telling, and you know what the storyline is, so you can kind of accompany that along with the match. So in WCW, this was not the case.
No, this was absolutely not the case.
They purposely, I think especially at this point, either because the show would be booked late or because they wanted genuine reactions, they would not tell the announcers beforehand who's going to win and lose. Which is why sometimes the commentary in WCW can feel perhaps more genuine. Because recall to the world title match versus Hogan, where like fucking the Brain is just losing his shit. And he's like, do it, your career's on the line, do it, now do the other bit, because Goldberg's doing the 20, he's like, oh my fucking god, please win.
Yeah.
Which I did enjoy. And then obviously you get this match here where they kind of booked this face, but the commentators are kind of talking about what kind of a cunt Kevin Nash is.
I don't know how you
on
can
screen.
Look at. I don't know how you can look at Kevin Nash in that ring and not think he's a cunt. The way he fucking carries
but the
himself
fans
around
really
there.
like him.
Yeah, but it's so
odd.
weird, isn't it? Like the dude has the most undeserved swagger I've ever seen in a ring. Like I don't really know Diesel from the 90s and the Fed. I don't really know a lot about him.
He worked because when he was working with Brett and Shawn, he was fucking an Undertaker. He was doing like 35-minute matches, like, so he knows how to work. And he knows, it's not how to be good, if that makes sense. But I suppose with Kevin Nash, it's like he's so just upfront about how much he doesn't give a fuck that you're like, all right,
yeah.
who am I to argue with this guy?
I just want to mention while we're talking shit about Kevin Nash, one of the things that Kevin Nash says about Goldberg every fucking time he talks about him is like, oh yeah, and Goldberg, they piped in the chant, right, to get him over because he wasn't over, and it's complete and utter bullshit, because if you watch his match against William Regal in February 1998, the fans are chanting Goldberg in a really organic way that it's not familiar to the Goldberg chant that we have now. The long form Goldberg, they're just like Goldberg. But nonetheless, it is an organic chant, and he's absolutely over. So like, if they pipe the chant in, they did it to get the chant like chanted. That's it.
For it to continue it in a way.
It's not a subliminal message telling people to like Goldberg.
Yeah.
Kevin Nash
it's a dirty
is so
trick,
bitter
but
about
it's
that.
not. It's not like it's a very good point. It wasn't happening. It was just like maybe they wanted to be more of a slow, drawn out go.
Yeah, like something
like that.
that makes it like this is really authentic and unique in a cool way. Yeah.
As memorable as the theme. But yeah, so this match is kind of a back and forth between. Goldberg pulls out some mad moves. I believe this is a match where he does a spinning kick, like a double-legged spinning heel kick.
Yeah, he does.
Which I think Goldberg would do.
Which is cool because Kevin Nash is bigger than him, so he's gonna have to like pull out even more stops.
Yeah, he flew up there. A lot of kind of, the best hits of Kevin Nash, the picture elbow, the big boot, the choke boot, which obviously Goldberg just walks across and it looks pretty badass. He just like picks up his foot and just walks towards the ring. Yeah. All Nash is in one leg. So as the match is kind of reaching its peak, we get interference.
From Disco Inferno.
From Disco Inferno, who recently came out on Twitter and said that, I think he said Cody Rhodes couldn't work or something mad. And apparently Cody shut him down like horrifically. I didn't know why I didn't need a Disco Inferno. The second section of the interference is I don't know if it's bad, 'cause I don't want to say like bad as in bad, but it's certainly odd. So Goldberg is coming up to do the spear after he's taken out Inferno. And who appears dressed as security? Why? It's the hairiest man in wrestling.
The greasiest man.
Yeah, who isn't Albert. Scott Hall comes out dressed as the Goldberg security in the yellow, and he just tases Goldberg right in the fucking heart twice. So Goldberg is he's not doing well here. And Kevin Nash goes for the jackknife, hits the jackknife. Goldberg, obviously we were texting about this earlier, in which I was like, did he try and kick out? You were like, no, he's actually selling the.
Yeah, he sold the electricity, the volts spinning through his body. He sold it all very well. But this is the fucking ridiculous, I think.
It's over. The streak is over.
Yeah, so the streak ends. Kevin Nash picks up the fucking title. Yeah, I mean,
Did you have a problem with him ending the streak, or how it ended? Like which one? I mean, we can get into like who should have done it, but that's a whole different thing. We're not doing fantasy booking here.
both.
Plug.
I actually have a problem with both. I don't
But
think.
which one would you rank as the more annoying thing, if that makes sense? Or are they equally as cunty in your eyes? Like who did it and how they did it?
I think that who did it is relevant because of how they did it. You know what I mean?
I see.
Like,
yeah.
so I think it should have been DDP who took the title. And I think if DDP did it, and it was DDP and Goldberg and whoever sitting down to talk about it, they wouldn't contrive such a ridiculous way of finishing a match. But because it's Hall and Nash, this is the exact type of thing that they would come up with. And like, I mean,
so kind of reverse, have the Nash match at Halloween Havoc and then have DDP at Starrcade, because I think that would have worked as well.
Yeah, and I think like the stun gun thing, like, it's like it is original, and I do remember at the time people were talking about it quite a lot. I'd say
Pretty shocking. No, not even doing a pun there. Sorry, but
Yeah,
it was pretty like holy shit. This is crazy.
Yeah, and I'd say, whatever their intended target for that stun gun was in terms of its cultural shock and fucking shock, yeah.
Hey, it's hard to not say
I
things
know.
in puns now, isn't it?
It's whatever it was, they achieved it because people talked about this quite a lot. And I think they could have done that spot and had it like end in disqualification or something, and then have DDP take the belt. It should have like DDP ends up taking the belt off Kevin Nash anyway.
Yeah.
So like it's just, I don't know. This
Well,
really.
the finger poke of doom comes first, which is even worse here.
Yeah.
This is the guy who beat Goldberg, and how does he drop the title? By taking the fucking finger poke of doom, which is horrific.
They did lots of stuff like that in WCW. Like sometimes matches would end because someone used a foreign object, and you don't even get told what the foreign object is. He hit him with something. What was that? A pipe? I don't know. But he hit him with like. There's a match.
Yeah, because no one's on the same page. The commentators don't actually know.
Yeah.
That's the problem here, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. But this is just bad, and I think it was really just Kevin Nash participating in that backstage dick waving contest to see, like, I don't know. I
think
really
he
don't
had
like
full control here, so he was the booker here. Or because I know he gets to book in '99 because he comes out on that episode of Thunder and he's just like, "Hey, I booked the damn thing. Hey." He basically spends the whole episode of Thunder. It's like his last episode. I don't know if you've seen this legendary episode of Thunder where he's just chatting complete shit, like burying everyone and talking about it. He's very pseudo real, Kevin Nash.
Yeah.
So yeah, at this point, in between the match we just saw, which is obviously, so now obviously let's take a moment here. Now we hit the decline era of WCW Goldberg. No more mountains left to climb, I guess. But he starts to get beat downs by the NWO. They spray the back of his head and
yeah. Can we just
taser him some more?
Do a little bit of a review on that actual era of WCW. So some things I want to say. Tony, what do you think of Tony Schiavone? Because a lot of people don't really like him at all, I've noticed on the internet, and I'm not sure. Is that just because he's kind of a dick in real life, or?
I think it's because like he, I don't mind him here, but I know that him and Brain never got on.
Yeah,
and
like
him and Jesse never got on.
I know he's got heat with lots of people.
Yeah, and for different reasons or whatever, but he to me, this wasn't his wrestling. His wrestling was Flair, early Sting, early Luger. He wasn't. And I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying he wasn't a sports entertainment commentator. He was a wrestling commentator. That's not a knock. That's just a different style. JR adapted well, making that change in the late 90s from the Attitude Era coming into him commentating on the same matches that Tony didn't pick up. But I think Tony sometimes comes across disingenuous because I think he generally doesn't enjoy the product.
That's interesting because this is only a small snippet. Obviously, I would have listened to him a lot as a kid, but it's weird. I don't really remember what that was like. But I think he sold the spectacle of it really well.
I think he did that too, and I think also can I just throw as a caveat there, like I do actually enjoy him just because I'm not listening to Michael Cole here, so he's become miles better.
That might be it. Like I really enjoy the way he went out of his way to mention the wrestling moves. Everything about the spectacle itself, he really lent his voice to bigging it up. He put Goldberg over incredibly well. I think it really helped to tell his story, and that's not a small thing.
Across these matches, I think across this compilation here, I don't think you see the worst of Tony Schiavone. I think if you're watching the weekly shows, you get a lot of horrible awkwardness and a lot of like dick waving between him and Heenan for whatever reason, where he would turn around and he'd make him turn around, and Bobby Heenan would be like, "I'm a grown man, I don't have to turn around." And they're talking to the camera when they reset the show. Brain is just facing the other way, like doesn't give a shit.
That is very. That's a very good point. Yeah. His role in the building of Goldberg, I think he played that very well. And he
had Tenay there, who's like the machine, the brain of wrestling,
Yeah.
So that helped as well, because Tenay could do like, this is the bit that hurts, this is why it hurts, this is the stats here, and he could just scream. Whereas now you get Michael Cole doing both of those jobs, doing the stats thing like he does say at the Rumble, but he's also doing the emotional sell, and you can't really be both if you think about it.
Yeah.
You can either be like a statistician, like Matt Stryker was, and then when he screamed stuff, it was really awkward, like when Edge comes on, he's like, "I'm marking out!" It's like, what are you talking about? You're not as clever as you think you are. And then you get Cole, who will be like, "This is the third time Randy Orton's entered the Rumble. He's been in the Rumble for this amount of time. This. And then he goes, "Oh my God, I did not see that coming." It's like, really? You really have a lot of your stats down.
That's so
true. You can't be both. So I don't know. I mean, he's not too bad here, but I have watched a lot of full WCW shows, and it gets kind of rough.
I'd say the rest of the actual spectacle of Nitro is just really, really good. I think having a guy like Michael Buffer reading out or he didn't even like read it out, but he announces people as they come in for the listeners who haven't seen this. And in WCW, it's like it's full on like an actual boxing ring announcer. He does so much to get the person over, just in terms of their story and everything about them. Like, it's so fucking cool, and he has such a great voice.
Do you know how much he was getting paid?
No.
150 grand per appearance.
Holy shit.
So you better put those motherfuckers over, mate.
He definitely did. I mean, he was sensational, and I'm really glad that he was there. I think he added a lot of weight to the actual the fight feel. I said that thing to you before about how WWE, whenever they have a pay-per-view in Vegas, they're like, a big fight feel, but like there fucking isn't. Other than the fact that you saying big fight feel, this is the same as any other fucking pay-per-view. But in WCW, every single Nitro had a big fight feel, because you've got Michael Buffer there reading out their fucking entrance cards, and then
they never used them. Even when they did when they would have DX did the fucking quote.
Yeah.
For years.
Let's get ready to suck it.
Yeah, it's just odd that they never used the actual guy for whatever reason. I guess they were like, we're not them. He now makes about $5 million a year, which is, so you say if he does like a couple of fights, you're talking about like 400,000, 500,000 per fight. He makes more than Michael Buffer. This is than most people competing in these things, unless it's like Floyd.
He's like
people
75 years old.
Yeah, he is. I mean, both of those guys have just been like, well, let's just make our voices into fucking money. Let's just print some money by opening our mouths. If only, eh? So many jokes. So many jokes went through my head.
So Nitro is good. If you Nitro from 97, 98, very good. It's money. It's worth watching, I think.
And then
and now we're gonna get into the dregs of it, and then
the fucking wheels are coming off here.
So this is like, I fucking hate talking about this, because it just reminds me of my favorite wrestling promotion dying, because that's
in front
what
of your eyes.
Yeah, every week that I tune in, I'm like, Oh, it's really weird how it was bad last week. It's going to be good this week. Oh, no, it's fucking shit.
I've gone back and watched some 99 stuff. The wheels are still kind of okay. Gets a bit mad towards the end of the year. But 2000, and everyone talks about 2000, but like there's a podcast that specifically follows it week to week, and there's other podcasts which obviously go into these eras. It is terrifying what's happening in the company. It'll be like, I think the world title changed about 24 times in fucking 2000, and Vacant had it like 6 times.
Yeah.
And with someone like Goldberg, who is he needs to have his shit structured. I'm not saying he's stupid. I'm not saying like this big dumb idiot needs to have. But I mean is what Goldberg is, you have to plan forward.
Yeah, Goldberg has a mystique and an aura about him that you need to, that is his strength, and you need to write to that strength. Like,
you can't book week to Goldberg. Like, he needs to have a destination. And once the streak went, it did feel like the Goldberg character didn't have a destination, didn't have a motive, which is odd, because obviously after the NWO beat him down, we're taken to the next match, which is a cattle prod stroke, taser stroke, whatever the fuck that thing is, because that's massive, horse tranquilizer on a ladder match. So the point of the match isn't to grab the thing, it's to grab the thing, then use it. And it's Goldberg versus Scott Hall. Match itself is actually quite entertaining for me. They both bleed, and Goldberg sells his knee really well, I think.
Yeah, he's like, I have to say, up to this point, his selling has been really, really good. Like, I'll stay on the fact that his weakness is actually taking moves, and his strength is offense, but he sells really, really well. Like, I'm very impressed with that.
Yeah, so agreed. Like, especially in this match, like, I actually I felt for the man's knee. It looked quite genuine at times. And you get Scott Hall, who's a little bit fucked up at this point. I don't know how fucked up he was literally, but he looks a bit bloated up and kind of, I don't know if his character or him, it's hard to tell with him, but they still were quite a decent little bit of psychology in the ladder match.
Yeah.
So you have basically Hall going after the knee, and his whole argument, I guess, wrestling sort of ideology, his match tactics, if you will, is to kind of get Goldberg down long enough so he can go up, grab it, then use it, as opposed to the traditional ladder match, which is the ending is to grab the item, which means that you don't necessarily have to take the guy out.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So he's kind of being like, if I KO this guy, which is, I guess, actually that changed my perspective on the match, because if you're looking at it as just a regular ladder match, you're like, why does he stop climbing, attacks him, and then goes back to climb? It's that you can have him beaten up so bad that you can just go up there, grab the thing, and be like, I'm about to win. Boom. That is not what happens.
No, but it was a good tactic, and it was done very well in the ring, I think.
Yeah, especially like, because I think I didn't understand that when I first started watching the match, but as the match grew on, I was like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here. I'll tell you what else they're doing here. More interference.
Yeah. More Disco Inferno.
More Disco Inferno. Everybody's fave. So he came out and he distracted Goldberg. Scott Hall actually grabbed the taser, and he got kicked, and it flies out of the ring. And then we get probably one of, in the highlight reel, people's favorite spear, would you say? Because I thought it was a nice spot. I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like, I don't think the spear's that great, but I like the psychology of the spot, I guess.
You don't think the spear is that great?
No, that particular one.
Oh.
Because they're kind of like towards the corner of the ring, but...
sorry, I see what you're saying.
So not necessarily the way he did it, but how they got there. It's a little bit like cartoony, but I enjoyed it.
I thought it was actually super cool. I definitely didn't see him doing that. Like, it was inventive.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
So what it is, obviously, so I'll just go talk people through it. Hashtag spoilers ahead from a match that took place in January of '99.
In an arc that we've spoiled every single thing.
Yeah, but this is the big one. So Goldberg kicks Hall, the taser falls out of the ring, Goldberg grabs it, and he's milking it, and like he's like, "Oh, you motherfucker, I'm gonna get you." And then Scott Hall's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Can I have it? He just like, "Can I have it?"
No, but
Obviously.
he gets on his knees at one point. He puts his hands together. He's begging him.
That's the praying thing.
Yeah.
And Goldberg's like, "Oh, you want it? Okay, here it is." And he chucks it up in the air. Hall goes to grab it, gets a ginormous spear.
I don't even think he goes. He just kind of looks at it, or.
And I think he puts his arms up.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, because he has to sell the fact that he has to prepare to take the spear. So
yeah. So I guess that's presets that. So he spears him, then tases him, and no, does he actually taser him? I always get this bit confused. Yes, he does.
He does.
So he wins the match.
He tases him. Fucking Scott Hall spasms for about half a second, and then immediately is fine. And gets up because the most inexplicable interference happens as Bam Bam Bigelow comes out, and Bam Bam starts beating down on Goldberg. Scott Hall beats up. Does he stun Bam Bam, or does he just hit him?
He does them both.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah, none of this makes any fucking sense by this point. And then Hall stuns Goldberg, and Goldberg shows Scott Hall how to actually sell. And then we're fucking done with that garbage thing.
Yes. And we really go away for the rest of the year and the rest of time, as it were, because then we're taken to Bret Hart and Goldberg at Starrcade. There's a little match in between, but there's no point talking about it. It's ridiculous.
Agreed.
Yeah. So obviously we all know the story here: the kick to the fucking head, brain damage, yada yada yada. Obviously, I don't necessarily want to get into everyone's point of view here because I'm pretty sure Bret Hart has changed his. Dude, as we spoke about off air, obviously, about the fact that people will come up to him and be like, "Yo, Goldberg's talking shit about you," and he's like, "Well, fuck him."
I'll summarize it in one sentence. Goldberg and Bret Hart seem to communicate a lot. Goldberg frequently apologizes for kicking him in the head that hard. Bret Hart doesn't blame Goldberg. Bret Hart blames the people who put him in the ring. He understands that Goldberg had not sufficient training up to that point. He shouldn't have been doing that. He said that that they're cool and all of that stuff, and then at one point someone said, "Oh, Goldberg denied all responsibility," and then Bret said, "Well, fuck him. I hope he gets kicked in his fucking head. He was fucking terrible," and all this shit. And Goldberg has never denied responsibility. He's always been incredibly apologetic, and he said it was the biggest mistake of his life, and that's that. So the internet will fill in all the other blanks, in whatever way they want to believe. That's the story that they'll tell. So
yeah, it's because obviously Bret's near and dear to a lot of people, and I guess he sometimes gets being treated as what he says is gospel. Whereas, listen, everyone can be wrong about things. Doesn't mean he's wrong about everything. Doesn't mean he's right about everything. But I think on this one, I think it's safe to say Goldberg's very remorseful. I think. Yeah. But either way, though, the finishing of this match has got WCW 99 written all over it. They recreate the screw job. Piper playing Vince. He's the ref, walks in, says ring the bell before Bret even puts in the sharpshooter.
Bret is rolling Goldberg into the sharpshooter, and then Piper rings the bell, and then
that's that. They just walk away and just fades to black, and that's kind of how it ends here. This WCW portion. I just want to quickly add that there is a little bit more to the Goldberg story. Sorry, what were you gonna jump in there? Sorry.
I just wanted to with regards to the match itself. If you guys do decide to actually go and watch this, it's a good match, but it's difficult to watch because you can only watch it in the context of the kick. And I'll say this: there's a moment in it where Bret Hart applies the figure four to Goldberg on the turnbuckle, and Bret appears to. I think it's widely speculated that Bret concussed himself with that move as well. And then he also takes that kick to the head. So it's really brutal to watch. I can't watch The Undertaker against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania for that exact reason. I'm really uncomfortable with seeing people get hurt like that badly. Which
Chris
is weird.
Benoit taking chair shots and stuff like that.
Yeah. But my favorite match of all time is probably Roman Reigns against Brock Lesnar. So I don't know. But yeah, it's just
there's levels to it, I guess.
Yeah, and that was they both agreed it as well. So it's different. But this is
it's not accidental as such. Yeah,
this is dark. So we'll do a really quick one sentence end of Goldberg's WCW. Well, of WCW itself, I suppose. Right.
Here's a summarization of this. Listen, I'm skipping things. Don't get me wrong. He tries to rebuild the streak. He feuds with the Millennium Man, aka Sid Vicious. He starts rebuilding his streak. He goes up against NWO Silver, I believe. He fucks up his arm because he punches he's meant to punch a limo. You can look this angle up online. I think you can find this by itself. He's meant to punch the window of this limo, which Kevin Nash is in, but instead of using a gimmicked pipe, he actually just fucks himself and he cuts himself up so bad that he was out for about 8 months.
Yeah.
Big return, turns heel, joins up with Russo and Bischoff, immediately turns babyface about 4 weeks after that because they're like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
He has a pay-per-view match with Scott Steiner in which the build was that both men were going off script. Did you know about this? Have you seen this? It's like the Fall Brawl main event, and they're like, these men will not be following the script. So that implies that every single other match, event, promo
Yeah.
is scripted, but what they're doing isn't, which is the stupidest way to build a match. Thanks, Russo. And then he gets taken out as part of, in early 2001, as part of, he was shooting up against Ric Flair's Magnificent Seven, which was like Hawk and a bunch of other people in Jarrett, a bunch of random heels and Luger and Bagwell. And then he just kind of disappears. You don't actually see his return to WCW after the Magnificent Seven take him out. That was it. He faded. Goes to Japan. Sits out his WCW contract, first of all. So he misses out the invasion. Sits out a little bit longer. Goes to New Japan in 2002. And then finally, in the day after WrestleMania 19, he debuts comes out, interrupts The Rock.
Yeah, this is a really funny segment because The Rock is like, I come back here and you people don't appreciate The Rock. And the crowd is like, Goldberg. And The Rock is like, oh, don't act like you're clever because you know The Rock's accountant, Ira Goldberg.
Very good.
So,
I cannot praise 2003 Hollywood Rock enough.
yeah.
It's possibly my favorite incarnation of him because he was coming out. He was like trolling the crowd on a level that like no heel had properly done before.
Or since. This is a huge thing with like the CM Punk chants needs something like that. Or like when the people were doing what and Undertaker was like, say what if you have sex with your sister?
Yes, yeah. If you sleep with your sister, you say what? I think Vince had one that was like, if you're a moron and you're from Hartford, you say what? He goes, there you go.
Right.
Or the Steph one where she's like, well, she did something about 2 minutes about Punk's fight with the UFC. But like this whole persona of The Rock when he comes out, and he's doing the original heel Rock concerts. The bit where he's like, woohoo! He said the name of my town. He said the name of my town. He just makes fun of people, and he's still being a little bit cheered here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So then he starts feuding with Goldberg because Goldberg comes out and spears him. Because basically The Rock's saying, look, I've done it all. I just beat Austin last night. I came back. Cause this is an incredible, weird little run that he had when he came back in 2003. Because he beat Hogan at No Way Out a month prior. And then he beats Austin at WrestleMania. So he's like, hey, I've come back. I've done it. I'm done here. And Goldberg's like, well, you want to know who's next?
The Rock is like, who's next? And Goldberg's like, you're next!
Yeah, your bitch ass. And he spears him. The Rock sells it beautifully.
Yeah.
I thought it was a hell of a sell job. And then they have a match at Backlash 2003. This is, again, I would say, much like with WCW, but in a smaller spectrum, his first WWE run, actually up to this point, is only match one, I know, very well. I enjoyed the fact The Rock would only have to, like, The Rock would run away from him and hit him with chairs. He would be like, do you not see me take him out? Cacao! Cacao! You just do this weird noise while you hit him with the chair and go, cacao. And he kept calling a big idiot gorilla sort of thing. And then he beats The Rock at a very acceptable match at Backlash where Goldberg does the spear thing and he hits his shoulder, and his shoulder's actually got a cut on it, so goes in pretty hard. I enjoy this match. And then we hit Evolution.
Yes, and this I think that this is actually the first instance of Goldberg versus Evolution is inside the Elimination Chamber. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, he fused with Jericho, which is kind of good, and
Yeah.
they had a real fight as well, which infamously, apparently, Jericho just took him down. Even though I think Jericho said that like if it happened 9 times out of 10, he might have battered me, but fuck it, like I just went for him. So his stock in WWE isn't that great backstage. He's seen as a bit of a prima donna. He's not happy. He said his first run he was not happy.
Yeah.
They misunderstood the character. They had him working longer matches and selling for longer. It's included cool shit because now. Oh, by the way, sorry. Side note: he wears Goldust's wig, which I think is a very, very, very specific shot at him from WWE.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no way that's accidental. Because most badass heels or faces, you just wouldn't put the fucking thing on their head. And he puts the thing on his head. And you can Google that picture. He mugs right at the camera as if to say, like, what the fuck? So, yeah, you're right. He first comes up across Evolution in the Elimination Chamber in 2003.
Yeah. I just want to say on this match, right? This match is not on the collection. But I'd recommend everyone watch it because I think that this is the... in Goldberg's first WWE run, this is the best booking. It's just this match. It's the Elimination Chamber. It starts off with Triple H and Shawn Michaels, from what I remember, and I'm going purely off memory here. But this match, right? It's got Randy Orton, Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho, Triple H, Goldberg, and someone else in there as well that I'm forgetting. Booker T. And Goldberg is the last person to come out. And
Kevin Nash. Sorry, fucking hell, Kevin Nash is in the match.
That's right. Good God. But Goldberg's the last one out in the chamber, and it's just this is how you use Goldberg. Like,
yes,
it's so fucking good. I won't even say what happens, but he comes out and he raises hell, and it's so worth watching. It's one of my favorite matches. I go back to it like every few months and watch. It's actually been a while. I'm due a rewatch.
Park Cup. Yeah. Do you think the reason why they didn't put this is because he lost? That's why they didn't put on the. Because if you notice on the compilation, he doesn't lose a lot. They've actually kept.
Yeah.
Easy to do in WCW, obviously not so easy to do in WWE because he did lose time to time.
Yeah, I think the collection is here's Goldberg's story.
Yes.
Whereas this is more like just that chamber match is just great. I think it just showcases his strengths really well.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a 1v1 match with Goldberg and Triple H at was it Unforgiven? Yeah, I wasn't really overly keen on this. It's not my favorite match ever.
I don't know if you know this, but I'll just quickly tell you and our wonderful listeners.
Hit that like
the original.
button.
Yeah, hit that subscribe button. The original plans here. So that Elimination Chamber only happened because Triple H was hurt.
Okay.
So if you watch those Raws, because I've actually gone back and watched some of those Raws in 2003, they were going for Triple H versus Goldberg 1-on-1. And then Hunter got hurt, and they kind of incorporated Kevin Nash and Jericho, and that's why Kevin Nash has short hair in the match, because Jericho just won a hair versus hair match. And that's why they incorporate Shawn and Randy, who at Unforgiven went on to have a one-on-one in a sort of legend versus... This is the early legend killer
cool.
stage. So Triple H gets hurt, and that's why he's wearing the bicycle shorts, if you notice.
I was wondering, was that why?
Yeah. So he's actually still hurt by the time they go into Unforgiven, because he was meant to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. They had SummerSlam, and it was like, okay, if you just keep the title for a bit longer, we'll progress the feud for another month. But I think it's one of those things where once they missed the boat with him winning at SummerSlam, where he could have killed everyone, Strowman style for a more contemporary reference, the moment had passed,
Yeah.
We're doing the Daniel Bryan arc right now in our sort of main timeline here, and it's very interesting that that feud was kept for a little too long, and then it went away, and then obviously they brought it all back together coming into the Elimination Chamber or Rumble era that we're on. But so that's what's weird here is that they could have pulled the trigger at SummerSlam because Triple H was hurt. So, but they didn't. I'm guessing Vince was like, it might be more definitive if he just beats him one-on-one. Problem with that is the match is 25 minutes long, and Goldberg spends about 22 of those selling.
Yeah, it's not a great match, and I'm a huge fan of both guys, as I've said. I have such a anti common You know, like all my favorite
You like the people
wrestlers.
people don't like.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I think if this was a Triple H of now, you're looking at a completely different match.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure there was some resentment to Goldberg, and it was more like, we'll teach him a lesson. This is how you work, kid. Let me do that fucking, even though I really like the move, the Indian Deathlock.
Yeah.
Let me just slap that on for a good 3 minutes.
Yeah, I feel like Triple H really didn't like Goldberg at all.
And I'm sure he had Vince going, if you do this, there will be more good things for you in the future. So Goldberg wins the title in September. He drops it in a horrendous triple threat with Kane versus Triple H, back to Triple H.
There's one good thing in that triple threat is when Kane goes to do the choke slam and Goldberg counters it into a fireman's carry, and it's just a really fucking smooth thing.
Classic Goldberg, which is explosive, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wonderful. So he loses the belt there, and then he kind of begins to get embroiled when the feud with Brock Lesnar. Now, how did this feud come about? Because I thought it was just like at Survivor Series they're both going, because they both were still champions of each of their rosters, and I think Goldberg might have made fun of Lesnar or something.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. I don't really even remember the build-up in the WrestleMania thing, the promo, but...
I think it was, so Survivor Series, Goldberg is like, I'm going to keep my title. Lesnar's like, yeah, right. And then Goldberg does lose his title. He's going to the Rumble. And I think then Lesnar throws him out. And he does a killer spear at that Rumble to Nunzio. Holy shit.
When he snaps the dude in half.
Cuts him. And Nunzio's like 150 pounds, like Spike Dudley. A little bit heavier maybe than Spike Dudley, but like he murders him. It's crazy. And Lesnar comes out. So then we get led to the sort of the final curtain, which is the last match of his WWE run. And everyone knew this, by the way.
Yeah.
They knew Lesnar was leaving. They knew Goldberg was leaving. And Austin's the referee. And Austin's the only people they like in this match.
Yeah, this is bad. This is one of the worst matches. And it's really because neither guy wanted to do anything. So it's about 20 minutes of two guys arm grappling.
Like Goldberg does the really cool press slam into spear, which I really did like. So he goes for literally like a press slam, arms over the head, and he just kind of drops Goldberg back on his feet, just runs at him, which was a cool move you can do in the I think it's SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. Great game. And it's so much fun being Goldberg on that game. I just want to say that. So it wasn't all bad in the WWE in this first run.
Yeah.
So this match is more about Austin. So Goldberg actually does win, which is nice. So at least he gets a send-off with a win, unlike Lesnar, who's like, I'm going to go to the NFL. And they're like, oh, fuck you. Yeah. I think with Goldberg, it was like he had a year contract and he just didn't renew it.
Yeah, Goldberg just didn't like the product at all. He was told a completely different story to the one that he actually ended up going into, and he wanted to be like a superhero for kids, which is like a very kind of admirable goal for him, but just the product was geared towards this was the really weird rated R.
Yeah, we don't know if we're Attitude, we don't know if we're the kiddies, we're just all over the place.
Stacey
and
Keibler dancing on top of the commentaries table and stuff like that. And Goldberg was like, I don't think that's good for younger people to see.
And I think that Goldberg as well, because this could either be seen as an ego thing or a thing from another perspective, but he's very clear about who he is and what his character is.
I think Goldberg is complex in the same way that CM Punk is.
Yeah, they have very high stock and a lot of self-belief in who they are and the best way to present them, which is great, by the way. But, of course, that means that sometimes you don't really do business well because it doesn't fall in line with your vision.
Your moral code gets in the way of your sort of business sense or something like that. Not to say that neither of them have business sense, because they both obviously do, but I'm sure people know what I mean anyway. So Goldberg goes away after that.
They're difficult to work with because they're quite stoic and kind of strong in their beliefs, like you said.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So he just fades. See ya. All right, thanks for listening, everyone. Wrap it up.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Turn around. Bright eyes. Fucking Bonnie Tyler's turned up.
Every now and then I take a jackhammer.
So, as the new game gets released, And I think someone just goes, hang on a minute, he's still in really good shape. Is he?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Goldberg appeared at this thing called Legends of Wrestling. This is in 2015, right? Let me just. This is. It's RVD versus Scott Steiner in Legends of Wrestling. And RVD is in trouble, okay? And the ref is down. And Goldberg comes out. And Steiner absolutely fucking eats the spear. This is one of the best spears I've ever seen in my life. And then Goldberg approached WWE in late 2015 and was like, "Hey guys, I don't know if you saw, but I'm back in the ring and I'm in really good shape. If you guys want to make some money,
I look exactly the same, but my hair is
I actually look better.
My...
He literally looks better.
Yeah.
And
did you see that picture, the side by side one?
Yeah, it's nuts.
His body literally looks better, like a little bit more grey hair in the face, but yeah. Especially in his first WWE run, I think he looks much better when he came back.
And Goldberg was like, "Hey guys, if you want to make some money, I'm fit to come back for another brief run. If not, cool, whatever." And they were like, "No, absolutely not." And then,
but the game was already in works, like, because obviously they did the same with Warrior, where it's like, and Macho, where it's like, you can go promote the game, that's over there. This is the bit where you wrestle, and you're not doing that.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Because
Yeah.
then Lesnar, so obviously then Goldberg appears to announce the game. When Goldberg comes out to promote the game, which comes out in the fall of 2016, Brock Lesnar comes out and says, "Listen, fucking Lesnar has done it all. He's beaten the Streak. He's beaten Rock. He's taken everyone out except you, who Lesnar lost to at WrestleMania 20," which actually I thought was a really cool callback to the whole thing.
I liked the way WWE acknowledged that Goldberg was 1-0 in this fight.
Exactly.
It's because usually, like, with Cena and Lesnar, they didn't do that.
No.
With Randy and Brock, they didn't do that. You know.
Triple H and The Undertaker.
Yeah.
They never wrestled before.
Yeah.
Did 10 years before that, 2001. So Goldberg, for the first time in 12 years, was coming back to the ring.
Yeah.
This was big.
And this was a big promo when he was like, was it this exact? I think it was this promo where he was like, and then I got to thinking, maybe I have one more ass kicking left in me.
Yes.
And then
simple and to the point, so even the smart marks didn't have time to boo him.
Yeah, and the cool thing was when he said, "Brock Lesnar, you're next." And that means, Brock Lesnar, you're last.
And he... so they had a match at the Survivor Series.
Can I just say, this fucking match... the Survivor Series this year had the WCW logo. Did you notice that?
Yes, yeah. And that couldn't have been by mistake.
Yeah, so this match, I swear to fucking Christ, I don't think I marked out this hard ever in wrestling. But I tuned into this match not knowing what to expect. Like, lifelong Goldberg fan, hadn't seen the guy in a ring in however many years. I knew that he was in good condition, but the people always say, "Oh, but Goldberg can't go. Goldberg doesn't have good stamina," and stuff like that. And I thought I was going to see some horrifying repeat of Brock Lesnar against Undertaker in the Break the Streak match, which just makes me so uncomfortable to watch. And I like Goldberg's entrance. I was like, hell yeah, it's amazing. And everything, like the stage was set, the flashlights were crackling, everything was looking fantastic, and then they started locking arms, and they went into the corner, and Goldberg just flings Lesnar onto his back, and
Lesnar shits himself just staring at him like, oh my god.
Then he gets up and laughs, and he's like, ha, and then he takes a spear, and I was like, holy shit. And then Goldberg backs into the corner, hits him with another spear. Then he hits a jackhammer, 1, 2, 3, and I swear to God, I just, like, I fucking lost my shit. I honestly don't think I have ever been that, like, well, I don't even know what the word is, just hyped. Because I wasn't expecting much, and I love Goldberg, and just the two things combining for me to see this.
They did it like they should have done it in 2003.
Yeah. But it was even more significant now because Lesnar hadn't been beaten in a singles match since like 1992. So it was just like, I don't know. And everyone is like, oh, you should have given it to a younger guy. Like, shut the fuck up, man. This shit is like, this is why you watch wrestling, is for stuff like
Butts in
this.
seats, baby.
Yeah.
As Shavante would say.
Yeah, Shavante.
Hulk Hogan's best way of saying it, which sounds kind of French. Shavante.
It's a weird looking fucking name.
Yeah, I thought if he was in WWE, he would have been called like Tony Roberts, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Like, they would sort out that last name. Yeah. If Renee can't be called, I think her name is Paquette or Paquette, because obviously she's Canadian French, or they have Frenchy sounding names. They're like, no, your name's Young.
Yeah.
So he beats Lesnar, and then he says, you know what, motherfuckers, I'm gonna go to the Rumble.
Yeah.
I think I can have another match in me, and everyone does actually lose their shit. I quite like he had a confrontation with The Undertaker and Lesnar, which is one of the most surreal moments in 2017.
Yeah,
or maybe late
completely agree.
2016.
Yeah.
He actually came in at number 28, but he was eliminated by Lesnar. He did a couple of spears and everything, so you got to see.
No, he was eliminated by Undertaker.
Oh, was it Undertaker?
He eliminated Lesnar.
Oh, yeah. So he had Lesnar's number again.
Yeah.
And by virtue of that, he was then given a title match, because obviously the argument there would be you're actually quite good because you beat the guy who's very, very good.
Yeah.
So he should probably take on the champion, which he does. He then goes on to accept the challenge from Kevin Owens.
Yeah,
who was at the time having problems with Jericho. And then we get to the Fastlane match, which I thought was a bit of a miss in this overall arc. The only thing I think was a major miss.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this at all. It was too obvious for starters. It was too easy. I don't think it made Owens look great, and I'm not really the kind of guy who cares about that shit. Like, oh, this makes him look weak. I'm not really about that. But you shouldn't really have a heel champion lose by being blindsided, I don't think. And I think that they could have done more with Goldberg, because although he might have been knackered, he quite clearly could go based on the Mania match.
At least more than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So because Jericho pretty much comes out, and by virtue of existing, because obviously Jericho got murdered in one of the best angles WWE have done probably in the last 10 or at least 7 years, since the early 2000s, maybe since like Nexus, where Jericho got attacked by Owens. And it's very, very Shakespearean the way he gets the list, and he goes, how come my name's on it?
That was fantastic, yeah.
Very clever. So you have the split off feud. But yeah, Goldberg wins the title, and I think this was the point where the reaction got a little bit like, ooh, really? Champion though? Like that? But
meanwhile, I was like, yeah!
Yeah, I think the nostalgia momentum was still there, which is good. And I think, again, if you saw this back in 2003, maybe Shawn comes out, interrupts Hunter, I think it would have been received even less positively than it did here, which was still overall positive, but just but the overall booking of Goldberg here is that, like, you do not give him a space, you do not give him a chance, you do not give him any breathing space, because he will punish you, just like he did Lesnar, just like he did technically Lesnar again at the Rumble, and just like he did Owens on this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So he's won the title. This is one of the oddest things, because he's going in at WrestleMania 33, which is 2017, which is a full 20 years from his debut, of course. He's heading in as champion to the biggest wrestling show in of the year. Yeah. Very surreal. Very, very surreal.
Yeah. This match was great, I think.
Yeah, so they went, I'm in agreement. They went about 6 minutes, maybe 8 minutes, where it was just suplex, spear, F5, jackhammer, spin hit.
It's so fucking good the way this match starts out, and they go into like a. I actually can't remember what they do, but I know Brock kind of explodes with the German suplex straight away.
Yeah,
And
straight in.
and I think he does it like 3 times, or maybe he only does it once, and then he kind of sits up and he's like, yeah, and then he takes a spear, and it was like just really fucking good camera work. I'd encourage everybody to go and just check that out and just acknowledge the camera work and how that was done, because it was absolutely sublime. Goldberg did the spear on the outside through the barricade, which was absolutely brutal, and eventually Lesnar ends up winning with the F5. But Goldberg still has the overall the 2-1, so Goldberg still has Lesnar's number in my opinion.
Yeah.
The next night on Raw, the crowd was a bit sick of this shit at this point, and this is
Should
something.
be noted as well, Goldberg's first ever clean loss ever in a singles match.
Fucking hell.
Can you believe that? Because obviously we've gone back to some of his losses here retrospectively,
Yeah.
but they're all screw jobs, interference. Yeah, his first ever clean loss was in his 20th year.
That is insane.
So he did the job, okay? Everyone complaining, he did the job, clean.
The next night, right, when he's talking to the crowd, right, the crowd are booing because they're doing the whole "we don't like this" boo thing.
It's the smarkiest of the smarks.
And Goldberg goes, "Well, you cut it out. I'm trying to have a moment here." And they stop, and then they cheer.
Was this when he brought out his son?
Yeah.
And like took his fucking shirt off?
No, that was
the kid took his shirt off.
That was in Survivor Series. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But obviously the whole run was so his son could see him wrestle.
Yeah.
Because his son was old enough when he was in the Fed, or obviously in WCW, so it was almost kind of like, this is me at my peak, kid, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. But it was just what I loved was Bill being like, I like this business and all. This is my goodbye speech, and the crowd are just shitting all over it. And Goldberg is like, I'm trying to have a fucking conversation with you, and then they stop. Like it's the only time in history that someone has looked at the crowd and said, "Fuck all of you,"
yeah,
and they went,
"Cut it out, you dickheads."
Yeah.
Yeah, which is obviously that probably was like, oh, okay, well that got our number, nice. Like it was it was a weird bit of respect that was like, right, fair enough.
Yeah.
He does want to have his moment. Let him have his moment.
And then they cheered, yeah.
Yeah, he came on to Raw Talk. You can watch this online, I think, and kind of says, thanks for all the support, blah blah. Didn't exactly rule out a return, but I think he's literally done. Other than the odd spear maybe here down the line. And yeah, we come full circle because this weekend, Friday, I guess, technically, he will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Like we touched on earlier, like you mentioned, it'll be interesting to see what he says. Be interesting to see what Heyman says about him. But yeah, what a fucking career.
I just want to say a few things, just a few words, if I may.
Words. Yeah. Do you want to be positive? Because I feel like we've been, slagging him all show long,
Well,
let's leave this on a positive note.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think we've put him over.
No.
So what I want to say is, people look at Goldberg and they're like, 5 moves of doom, seen that 1,000 times before. And I think, the very blueprint that Goldberg started out on, I think he is the first of his kind. I think he was way ahead of his time in terms of the streak and that kind of gimmick. He's the first person to do a thing like that and have it work as successfully as it did, and for him to go on to be the champ. His offensive moveset is up there with one of the best out of any of the big heavyweight guys in the history of wrestling. This guy, wrestling changed a lot from the 90s to the early 2000s, and you can watch any main events from like 96 or 95 and you'll notice there's a lot of differences between that of, say, a main event in the year 2000. And I think Goldberg is like a year 2000 onwards wrestler, but he started in 97. Like, he brought that style along with him, like, kind of unique to him, and it's just really worth mentioning that he paved the way for a lot of other people, and I think that's great and give him a lot of credit for that. Another thing about him that's really cool is he was originally sort of brought in as the WCW's answer to Ken Shamrock. He was like a crazy guy, wore MMA gloves, beat himself in the head, shouted into the ether an awful lot. And he kind of found his character along the way, and that's really cool. And One final thing is just to comment on his entrance music, because we spoke about this before, you and I. And I have a theory that Goldberg's entrance music was based off of the Terminator 2 theme. I don't know why, I just noticed a similarity between like the drums and the kind of is it like it's like a light synth, like a kind of a robotic sounding synth in there, that's very, very early 90s, late 80s sounding. And I just think that they both teams complement the machinery and the Terminator like kill switch and stuff like that. So
Yeah, it's like a Doom vibe to it.
yeah,
you know,
exactly, yeah.
like he's a fucking. It also is like he's a fucking Roman Colosseum warrior coming out as well.
Yeah, exactly.
To just batter you, and I think there's lots to be said about that. Even though, as you said, he came in as a kind of a hybrid, or like their response to Steve Austin, maybe in look and attire up to a point, and Shamrock in a style of pseudo MMA. I think that Goldberg stood out on his own, and I think that in an age where WCW had many stars, maybe they weren't as big as stars in '97 as they went on to become. I'm thinking Jericho, Eddie, Benoit, those sorts of guys. He stood out, and he you can't think about a Spear or a jackhammer without thinking of Goldberg. You can't talk about undefeated streaks without talking about Goldberg. Yes, this is part of the fake aspect where you're like, yeah, of course he was given those moves, he did that, but the best can take anything and make it look great. And yes, he was not as good of a worker as, I don't know, Jericho or Edge or one of those type of guys, but that was never the intent.
Yeah.
And I think that for what he did, for what he what his character was, what his mannerisms were, what his moveset was, he hardly ever let anyone down. You know, if you're grading it on a wrestling, you know, Harley Race, Ric Flair, like that lineage, he's never going to be anywhere near those guys. But if you judge him on a, like, he's almost on his own league, I suppose. I think he was one of the greatest to ever do what he did in his style, which is a very, it's like a fake, I guess it sounds like faint praise, because you're saying you're quite good at that specific. It's like saying a football team, it's like you're quite good at crossing, it's just nothing comes from it. But yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about the way he went on about his business. The fans loved them through essentially 20 years. Other than that one brief heel turn, he was never heel, which is odd because he's a fucking badass. So you think the character will lend itself to heeldom, but they never went there. Other than that, than Russo for a brief time, as I said. And yeah, if there's ever anyone having a Hall of Fame worthy career, it's him.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
I think it's as good a time as any to wrap up.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this like sort of change in pace, and if you would like more of this kind of thing, we'd be fairly happy to take a look at like other superstars and maybe have a look at their careers and a few different angles in one video, so to speak, because we do lots of like pay-per-view, and maybe in future we'll do more stuff where it focuses on one particular storyline only, or one particular superstar or whatever. So
I mean, kindly, WWE has sorted that out for a fair few people.
Yeah.
So it's actually quite good.
It was nice of them to do that for us, because we were launching this podcast and they said, all right, well, we'll do this collection for you.
Yeah, we'll work it out with you guys. And I said, Vince, you just book WrestleMania, don't worry about us. And he said, you know what? I always got time for WWP.
Yeah, I remember.
Not enough time to sponsor you, but time.
Yeah, well, we sponsor ourselves, so
Yeah.
I think Vince respects that.
Yeah, he likes people who are self-made sponsorees of themselves in a weird inception, sponsor for sponsor. But yeah, as always, ratings, reviews, likes, shares are always appreciated. Any feedback, we do read it. We always read it. Even if it is people questioning other things and being like, do that storyline, like anything that you want to say, just say it. I don't think, I mean, well, as far as I'm aware, like none of our fans tend to be like cunty negative fans. It's overall quite nice vibes. They're just people saying they enjoy the show and stuff like that. But anything you feel like saying, just give us a DM on all the social media stuff will be on the description as always. And yeah, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
And enjoy the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
This is WWP, and we're gonna slam our asses. That sounds really weird. We're gonna jackhammer. No, that sounds even worse. We're gonna spear. That sounds even worse. Yeah. So enjoy. Thank you very much, and good night.
And that's the bottom line.
Jackhammer said so.
Yeah.
Takes you on a ride, the ride of your life.